Hiya and welcome to Starla's Art Studio, and today I'm going over accessories. So I'm going to talk about things like glasses, hats, scarves, bandanas, crowns, tiaras, all that jazz. I also have a few more planned for part 2 for this video. This was a recently requested topic by Cobra Kid with the main purpose of showing how to draw glasses, so thank you Cobra Kid for inspiring the topic for this video. Okay, so because it was the initial request for this video, the first thing I'm showing is glasses. I'm going to show 4 different shapes and 2 different angles, 3/4 view and front view. Okay, so first we have these 4 shapes: square, bowl or semicircle, circle, and a sideways letter C. Okay, so let's start on the 3/4 view and the bowl shape. Once you draw your head, a few things to keep in mind is the placement of the eyes, nose, and ears. And that's because they determine the placement of the glasses. The typical size and placement of a human ear is where the top of the ear aligns with the top of the eyes or eyebrows, depending on how realistic your character's face is, and the bottom of the ear aligns with the bottom of the nose. So because this is a 3/4 view, you'll first draw the chosen shape over the eye that would be closest to the viewer, then you'll draw the second one near it. So remember that because it's not as close as the first one, it should be drawn at an angle and look slightly smaller and stick off a bit from the face. If you need to, just like how I have a line under the eyes, to make sure that they're at the same level, you can draw a thin, light line to make sure that your glasses are level. So you'll pretty much treat drawing the glasses like if you were drawing the eyes. You want to make sure they're level, that the one in the back is at a slightly different angle, but the glasses will protrude ever so slightly from the face. But that part also depends on how big the glasses are. After you have the shapes in place, you can connect them to each other and back to the ears. Okay, so another shape for glasses is circles. Often these kinds completely cover the eyes. It's pretty common in cartoons and such. So you can either just make the glasses as if they were eyes, or you can lightly draw the eyes and add the glasses on top, and erase the eyes if you don't want them to show through the glasses. All you do is just make the 2 circles, connect them, and connect them back to the ears. The next shape is square glasses. This one will be shown in the front view, and in case you'd like to know how to draw thicker glasses, I'll show that too. Okay, so with this square or rectangle shape, you first do the same thing that you did for the first 2 pairs of glasses in the way that you draw the shape in front of the eyes, but because this is in the front view, they stay the same size. Just like with the eyes, try to keep it symmetrical. Like I mentioned before, you can use lines to make sure that they're the same height and level. Now to make them thick glasses, you first just make their outline with the shape you chose, and then go back in with the same shape to create a more visible frame. Similar to the last 2 pair of glasses, you add 2 lines one over the other to connect the glasses, and then a similar technique to draw them back to the ears. Okay, so the 4th pair of glasses will be the topless semicircle or the sideways letter C. So after drawing the shape, you do the same thing as the other pairs of glasses, just connect them and add the lines on the sides to go around the ears. Something you can do to make them look more like glass is just adding simple little lines across the part that would be the lens. If you're coloring them, then you can just have a lighter shade over the glass part and make the white lines instead of darker ones shown here. Okay, so here are the 4 glasses shapes: semicircle, circle, square, and sideways letter C. Okay, so next I'll show you a few accessories for the face. This one will be a bandana on the bottom half of the face in both front and 3/4 view. Okay, so first, make the line going across the face as the top of the bandana. Remember to make a small hump upwards between the eyes because of the nose. I added it later in the drawing, but when drawing this part, remember that because the nose sticks out from the face, this will cause the bandana to curve over it. Next, because the fabric of the bandana is being pulled over the character's face, there will be some lines representing the pulled fabric around the edges and lines in the middle showing the tension from the bandana being pulled outwards. Okay, so around here I added some hair to show how it would look and to show how some hair would just stick out from the top while some gets tucked in. Though depending on the hairstyle, the hair will most likely just droop over the bandana. Here, with the little arrow, I real quick drew a close-up version above it, showing the hair being tucked into the bandana. If your character just has longer hair, the hair will most likely just cover up the sides. Okay, so next, here's the same thing but in the front view. Just like with the 3/4 view, you make a line representing the top part of the bandana with a lump between the eyes because of the nose. It's overall pretty similar to the 3/4 view, but the sides are pretty much the same. The lines you add for the folds in the bandana doesn't have to be symmetrical though. You can make the bandana as small or as large as you need it, or have it curve along with the face like if you have a ninja or something similar. Okay, so the next 2 will be a loose scarf and a forehead band. So first the scarf in a 3/4 view. So here's the head. What you want to do is have pretty straight lines and curves that go around the neck and on top of the shoulders. Create lines that go past the lines for the neck so it looks more like the scarf is wrapping around loosely. There will also be a lot of creases and folds around the sides of it from gravity pulling it down. Also, try to make sure the angle of the bottom part of the scarf matches the angle of your character. Some scarves may not sit this way on someone, but this one is implied to be slightly heavier fabric. Other scarves may be flatter or lighter on them. Okay, so the fourth one over here is a forehead band. This one is quite simple. All you do is make lines that go across the forehead, and depending on how tightly pulled or what kind of fabric it is, you add a few more lines across to show a few light folds. If the band is more of a strip of fabric, then you can just add ends of it flowing behind your character. This is optional, but it can also have a neat flowy look. This headband could be good if you want your character to be wearing a band for training, or just as a cool part of their outfit, or if you just want to give your character a workout band without the flowy parts in the back. I also drew some hair as an example if your character has hair that would flow over the headband. Okay, well, all 8 accessories here would be the semicircle glasses, the circle glasses, the square glasses, sideways letter C glasses, the 3/4 bandana, the 3/4 scarf, the front view bandana, and the front view headband. Okay, so next I'll show some bows and hats. First, here are a few ways to draw a bow. You could go for the what I call a butterfly bow, where you make a middle and some chunky butterfly wings or just sideways hearts. You can make the middle smaller or the edges bigger, depending on the desired size of the bow. Some specific places you could put it would be like at the base of a ponytail or at the end of a braid. This next bow is similar to the first one, but a less round version. This one could be seen as flatter, but may look nice at the start of a ponytail. These are basic bases for bows though. If you draw one, you could add things like patterns, colors, and all kinds of shapes. This third example is more of a ribbon-like bow. This varies in looks because the ribbon part could be thick or thin, and the ribbon ends could be long and flowy or short and straight. The bow part may also hang down and droop a bit more like bunny ears. This kind of ribbon bow is usually placed at the beginning of ponytails, both high and low, and things like braids. Oh, and if you're having trouble making flowy ribbons, what I like to do is make one flowy line, and then make a line a bit lower than it, flow with it, but then have them intersect at a point where the first line curves into another direction. Okay, so let's try a headband that gets tied with a bow on a head. So for just a regular little headband, all you need to do is make parallel curves along the top of your character's head. If the headband is hard or made of plastic, then you can just leave it without any creases or folds of any kind. Now if it is fabric, then after drawing the headband part, you can just add a few lines for the folds. The part with the bow could either be behind her head or at the bottom, or on the top of her head. The bow part will style like the other ones in the way that you will use a small curved square. Try to curve the headband parts into the square, as this will represent the fabric being pulled into the knot for the bow. You can add a few lines on the curved square to make it look a bit more like a knot. Then draw the ends curving upwards to create a teardrop shape. Here, I have the ends both turned upwards, but because it's fabric, things like gravity, wind, the general environment, and even the type of fabric could make the ends turn or move in different ways. They could both be up or down, or one up and one down. Okay, so next, here's a way to draw a bow at the base of a ponytail. So because the starting part of the bow may not be seen, depending on the angle, you don't have to worry about it. Just draw the other parts of the bow from the back of her head, like my little character here. Oh, and like I mentioned before about adding things to the bow, I added a kind of lacy decoration to the edges of the bow as an example of things you could add. It doesn't have to be too complicated either. For example, in the drawing, I just added simple little humps around the edges, and it kind of gives it this extra little fancy look. The ponytail that's currently being shown is a good example of a style that could go with any of the 3 bows. The rounder bows are usually used for younger little girlies, or just one that you may want to look friendlier overall, since rounder shapes are usually considered to be more friendly and likely to trust. Well, here are your bows. Next is a crown, a tiara, and a trick on drawing jewels. Okay, so let's start with a crown for, let's say, a king or a prince. Okay, so let's say you've got your princey guy here. Drawing crowns is overall pretty simple compared to tiaras. First, you'll just make a downward curved line on his head as the bottom of the crown. Next, you draw lines on the sides for the sides of the crown. Then, the decorative parts. Because the crown looks pretty similar all around, you can just make lines from the base up to represent where each point of the crown will be. I didn't do this initially, but it makes it easier because it marks where each point will start and end, so you know how many you want to make. The crown could either be just mountain-like shapes all around it, or it could be more elaborate. Just try to make sure each point is as similar as possible all around. When you're about done with the front, you can just use the same technique for the back of the crown. Just make the lines and draw the points. Okay, so around here is where you may want to add a few more things to the crown, like some gems. If you want to keep it simple, you can just make the desired shape and leave it like that. But if you want to add more detail, here's how I like to draw gems and such. Okay, so start by making your shape, whether it be a diamond, circle, or maybe a square. For this example, I'll use a diamond shape. Okay, so once you choose your shape, you first draw it just by itself. Then you draw the same shape inside of the outline of your first one, like so. After that, draw the lines that connect all the corners and boom, you've got a gem. Okay, so next I want to show you how to do a rounder shape like a circle. Okay, so just like with the diamond or rhombus, you draw your shape and then a smaller version in the middle. But because the shape is round, you can just randomly draw lines that go from the middle to the edge. Not too many though. To make it seem more like a gem, like when it's a rounder shape, after drawing the lines, erase the curves and replace them with straighter lines. The next one is very simple like the first one. This one is for a rectangle or square. Like the previous ones, draw your shape, then draw the middle, and connect those corners. The one for the square makes for a good gem or the texture for the top of a chocolate bar, just to give you some ideas. The fourth one is a combination of the first and the second ones. This one is a heart. So once again, you draw the shape, one's larger and one smaller, then you treat the bottom half like the diamond and the other two curves like the circle. Well, now that you've seen the crown and the gems, time to move on to the tiara. Okay, so let's say you've got this princess girly. So a tiara will start with a slight upward curve at the midpoint of the top of her head. Then you could either do a simple triple mountain look on top, or you could go for a more elaborate look. There are tons of ways to do a tiara, especially if your kingdom has a theme like futuristic, underwater, space, or nature. For this example, I'll just go over an unthemed version so you can customize it and add whatever you want to depending on how you want your tiara to look. Tiaras are typically symmetrical, so try and make each side look similar. Here, I added a point and curve on each side, then I tossed a heart shape right in the center. This shape could either have some gems in it or be a frame with a small gem hanging in the middle, which is what I went with. Oh, but I actually did change it from a heart shape. If you want, you can have a prince and princess's headdress look somewhat similar, so they look a bit more united. When I say similar, I just mean having similar shapes on them. For example, the princess crown has a bunch of arrow-looking points on it, so I used this shape for the middle of the princess's tiara. Well, now you've got bows, gems, a crown, and a tiara. Okay, next, I'll show how to draw a bunch of different hats. First up is a cap. Put on both forwards and backwards. Here, I drew the hair at the bottom, or what would stick out from under the cap first. Now, I think it's actually better to start with the cap and draw the hair underneath, because when I drew the hair first, I ended up erasing and guessing about where I wanted the cap to sit on the head. Okay, so for the cap, you'll make a downwards curve for the back of it, curve upwards when you get to the front of the face, and go down again slightly at the other side of the head. For the brim, you'll kind of make a duckbill shape, while the top will just be a simple dome over the head. If you don't want to leave your cap blank, at the front you can put a little design at the front, and for this example cap, here's a funny little face for you. Okay, so here's the next cap being worn backwards. The steps for this one are similar, but just with slightly different curves. The front is more of a downward curve to the back instead of a waved line. If you'd like, you can add the hair around here. At this point, you can add that cap strap and the hole that would be in the back of the cap. This part is just a simple semicircle with a small curve and a dot at the bottom of one of the sides to represent the strap part. The top of the cap is the same on both the front and backwards version, just a simple dome that goes over the head. The brim is a downward curve behind the head and it curves left around the neck. Okay, so around here I finished the top of the cap. If you want to, you can either leave it the way I had it right here or have hair from the inside of the cap drooping down, like if you have a character with longer hair. The next type of hat that I'll show is a beanie. So first you'll draw a curve over the face and down over the ears. I'm adding hair to all of these examples to show what they would look like with hair and that the hat should go around the hair and the head. Next, draw light lines around the edges of the beanie as a thicker rimmed part. Next, you go around the head kind of like the cap, but the part behind the head will sag more and look lumpier. Then you can start adding lines for the folds of the beanie. Oh, but I'd suggest erasing the head from behind the beanie before adding the fold details, just so they're not in the way. But that's mostly if they're in the same layer or if you're drawing this with pencil and paper. Around here, you can start adding the lines for the edge of the beanie. Oh, and you can either leave the beanie like this, or you can add a puffy or pom-pom thing on the top. It can look like a bunny tail or just a little fuzzball. It's optional, but it looks nice. Okay, so next is a sun hat. So here, I started drawing the top. Like most of the other hats, you can just go around the top of the head, but not too close considering the hair that the character would have. Next, you draw a long, wide, curved line from one side to the other. Make sure it goes quite a bit past the head. Remember, sun hats are meant to protect your character from the beaming rays of the sun. Once you get to the edges, draw a waved curve similar to the first one that goes all the way across. It goes up a little, down, and quite a bit, but not lower than the ear. Then back up to connect to the other end. Before drawing the other side of the brim, I'd suggest drawing the character's hair. The hair would be in front of that side of the brim, so you don't want to draw it just to erase most of it right after doing the hair. After that, draw curved lines from the side and turn those lines back to the head. An optional decoration you can add is a quick ribbon around the hat. Just go around the top of the hat and add some flowy ribbons in the back. Well, there's a sun hat. Okay, so next is a top hat. Okay, so after doing this one, I did come up with an easier way to draw it than how I drew it first here. Okay, so once you have your head, start by drawing 3 slightly tilted ovals. One large one as the brim of the top hat, a smaller one that would go around the character's head, and one last one that's the same size as the second one. This third oval will represent the top of the top hat. I placed the top oval a bit too low a few times here, so at first it looked a bit like a fedora, so try to make sure there's an accurate height between the head and the top of the top hat. After you draw the last 2 ovals, connect their sides, then erase any extra part of the first circle or the brim of the hat that would be in the back. As you can see, I didn't do that when I first drew it, so I ended up adjusting and redrawing parts to try to make it look better. Oh, but I also added a strip along the bottom of the hat, which was a neat add-on for a top hat. This top hat is slightly tilted forward, so if you want a slightly different angle for your top hat, just make the curves either more flat or curve them upwards instead of downwards. Oh, and I couldn't forget to add a neat hairstyle for this one. Okay, so the last one for this video is a pair of headphones. Even though there are hundreds of types of headphones and just about any ear accessory that helps you listen to things on a device, I'm going to draw some basic headphones, and when you draw them, you can change or add whatever you'd like. Okay, so headphones start kind of like a headband but thicker. All you do is first create your parallel curves over your character's head, then draw the speaker pipes that go around the ears, and lastly you connect them with either 1 or 2 small plastic pieces, or just connect the 2 whole parts. Headphones are constructed slightly different, so you can choose how you want them to look. Around here, if you choose to do this type of headphones, you could leave it blank, color it, or even add a little picture like this. Alrighty, well here are the 6 hats. A little forward-facing hat, a beanie, a top hat, a backwards-facing cap, a sun hat, and headphones. Well, that's all for this video. Here are 2 hopefully familiar characters wearing some of the accessories that I showed in today's video. I hope this video helped you. I enjoyed doing it, and again, many thanks to Cobra Kid for suggesting this topic, and I hope you all have a stellar day. Bye!